oxalates, you've probably heard, they're really something that's going on a lot in the carnivore community. A lot of people come to the carnivore diet because they have high oxalates, or they find that they're oxalate dumping, and it almost looks like a side effect of the carnivore diet. Oxalates are crystals. Leafy greens are really high in oxalates. So if you came from a vegetarian or an otherwise diet that was heavy in leafy greens, you might have oxalate issues. If you are prone to kidney stones, or you get dry or gritty eyes, or frequent urinary tract infections, or things that feel like urinary tract infections but aren't actually urinary tract infections, like there's no infection shown if they do culture your urine, then you might be oxalate dumping. If you are high in Candida, which is yeast, like if you're prone to yeast infections, you get a lot of like patches of dry skin, dry heels, lots of weird skin rashes, and a lot of times that is a sign of a yeast overgrowth. Brain fog a lot of time is a sign of a yeast overgrowth. You might be high in oxalates, since yeast also produces oxalates. If you have seen like eczema flare or a UTI type symptom since you've started carnivore, that might be a sign that you're oxalate dumping. So oxalates are crystals, and this is like we've talked about all the toxins that are in plants. Oxalates, a lot of people have heard of gluten. Gluten is a toxin in plants that a lot of people react to. Oxalates are just like that. They are little crystals, and they're actually what kidney stones are mostly made of. And they can show up in just irritation. So they can irritate your gut, they can irritate your urinary tract, so it can feel like you have an UTI even if there's no bacteria present. It's because those little sharp crystals are coming out. People that have like eczema or have dry eyes, like a lot of sleep in your eye, you might find that that is an oxalate reaction. It's not always, but it is definitely possible. And so as our body, or as we're eating a lot of leafy greens, chocolate are two of the big ones that have lots of oxalate. Almonds. And so this is where a lot of people that go on the keto diet, they increase their leafy greens, they increase their chocolate, because there's a lot of keto chocolate products out there. They increase their almonds in the form of almond flour or by snacking on them. Their oxalate consumption may be up. And so if you're coming from keto, you might have a bunch of oxalates in your body that your body has just been like dealing with, like setting aside to put away. And long term, that can result in kidney stones, which is why we definitely don't want our body to just be storing it. But as you've super reduced your oxalate consumption, if you're only eating meat and salt, or you're only eating like meat, dairy, and eggs and no seasoning, your oxalate consumption is way down right now. And so you might be doing something called oxalate dumping. And so if you're finding a flare in eczema, if you're finding, like I said, all of those symptoms that I just talked about, and it's too much for you, you may want to add in a little bit of, like a little bit of chocolate, which sounds crazy, and slow that oxalate dumping and then taper off slowly. So just by adding it in will trigger your body to not dump it all out right now. And so then you go down slowly. If you want more information on this, go to the Trying Low Oxalates Facebook group. It's a really intense Facebook group, and they have a protocol, but they have a really good protocol that you can find out more about this. Most of you are not gonna have this problem. I'm just kind of troubleshooting today in case you do. So don't be looking for a problem if there is none. If you feel good on carnivore, you're not having any excessive symptoms, but you'd like to know more of the mechanics of why this works, it is good for us. Even if we're not oxalate dumping and we don't get negative symptoms, it's still good for us to not be consuming those oxalates. So that's oxalates. I don't have a huge protocol on being low oxalate, so I'm going to send you to that Facebook group because they're the best that I know of. And Sally Norton, I believe it is, really top notch. You can look for her podcasts for learning more about oxalates. If you believe you have Candida, a lot of times Candida, like yeast, like you're prone to yeast infections and you'd like to get that Candida more under control, a lot of times Candida is attracted to heavy metals. And so if we can get rid of the heavy metals, and I use TRS for this. Once I started TRS, I noticed that my Candida symptoms, even on carnivore, were way less. And so I will link to a link down below for that. And that's just a spray that you take that binds to the heavy metals in your system, contains them, and then you can eliminate them. And when you eliminate them, you eliminate the Candida that is protecting your body from the heavy metals. And when you eliminate the Candida, you eliminate the oxalates that the Candida makes. So it's all super complex, but really the overarching theme that I want to really pound into your head is that your body can heal itself. There's nothing wrong with your body. You are providing it a ton of nutrients right now, and there's just gonna be, for some people, some adjustment. Most people, you are gonna find you feel phenomenal on the carnivore diet. In the Carnivore Training Tools class, I get you up and running and successful on your first 10 days of the carnivore diet. Join me and learn how to set your mindset up for success on the carnivore diet, set your kitchen up for success on the carnivore diet, how to cook 10 delicious meat and salt only recipes using very minimal kitchen equipment, and get daily advice for day to day for the first 10 days so that you can stick with and see success on the carnivore diet. Go ahead and follow the link below and feel free to ask any questions in the comments that you may have.